Hello friends, welcome to my channel Q Analysis, and I am your host Prashant Kumar. Today we are going to talk about risk management in Agile. This is the topic of our today's webinar. So here we go. Before I start this webinar, it's my request to you, if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, please feel free to subscribe, like and share the videos. And you can always let me know in the comment section of the videos if you have a specific topic on which you want me to make videos. I'll come up with that. You can also let me know your queries and I'll try to come up with the answers to those. So today we are going to talk about risk management in Agile. Before we start on this topic, we need to understand that what are the different kind of risks in Agile. So, if you want to know in detail what exactly is Agile methodology and what is the role of a project manager or role of a software developer or tester in Agile, feel free to watch the videos. I have already created a lot many videos and presentations and webinars on these topics. So, feel free to watch them. And I assume that everybody who is watching this presentation, as of now, they are well aware of Agile. And in this topic, we are only going to cover, in this presentation, we are only going to cover the risk and what would be the methodology to handle those kind of risk in Agile. The first risk which I'd like to talk about is budget risk. The risk of project going over the budget, perhaps the most common risk in software development and often tied to other risk. Yes, friend. So the budget risk is something like most of the time how much time, effort, person, and resources you are using in order to deliver the shippables. Uh, that is known as your budget. And every company or every organization or every team, they work with certain budget constraints. Like they have to give a high quality product or service or deliver a project in due time with a high quality, with a given number of resources, made, with technology made, other things which are involved in the production. And then, if at all there is any mismatch in the budget which was planned and the budget which is actually consumed in order to give you the delivery, then it leads to a kind of risk which is known as budget risk, which is very important because it is monetary or the financial related issue, and this is something which impacts the most to the team, to the organization, and to the clients and to the business users. The second risk is personal risk. The risk of losing or absence of project team members, even if for a short period, this can result in delays or errors. Yeah, human resources. Nowadays, we know having a right kind of technical person for your team or organization is very important. So for every role, you have to have a person who is highly suitable or fit for that role. So in case if that person is missing or leaving the job or he's going on vacation, maybe long term or short term, then it may lead to some kind of absence or a gap because of that person missing, and it leads to a kind of risk which is known as personal risk, and this can result into delays of the project delivery schedule, timelines, budget, or errors. The third risk is knowledge risk. So when I say knowledge risk, it is mostly related to the knowledge gaps or the transfer of information which is imperfect. So the process of relearning results in addition to labor, time, and resources. It comprises the total knowledge base, and then if at all there is any gap, it can lead to a kind of knowledge risk. So personal risk and knowledge risk, they are interrelated, and both of them, they lead to some kind of delays or overshooting of the budget or emergency funding utilization. Because of that, you can have some budget risks. Productivity risk. Productivity risk. This risk is common in long projects, mainly when the deadline and goals are long term. This environment creates a lack of immediacy, which results in a lack of urgency of work. So, especially when you have a product or a project delivery schedule, or a project going for longer, let's say a project is there which is there for 6 months, and then even though you follow all the sprint cycle and you have everything in place, but still somehow the productivity is not maintained. The deadlines, they are not met. Goals are long term, so somehow the milestones, they are not achieved. So in such kind of thing, there could be immediate gap which will lead into some kind of productivity risk and deadlines not being met, and which will lead into incurring of extra budget or expenditure of extra budget. So ultimately, the whole productivity, may it be of team, may it be of the organization, will be risked. The last risk which I'll talk about is time and delivery risk. Product delays are too common in software development, typically the results of poor planning, unrealistic timelines, and the inability to adapt to changing product requirements. Now, this is something which is very common. I have seen it happening many times in many products. Trust me, in the last 15 years of my job experience, I have seen it happening at so many different places. May it be a product based company or a project, consultancy project. Often it happens that if the requirement is changing on dynamic way, unrealistic timelines are being set up, and planning is not proper, it leads to a kind of time and delivery risk. If you want to know about more of this risk and how they can be handled in normal project, or different techniques to handle it, maybe you can refer to my video which is known as risk management and project planning, how to have a best project management or project planning. So I have created a video on that, a webinar. I'll give the description in the link. Feel free to watch it. And with this, now we are moving to the risk management technique in Agile. And we'll see how exactly the risk can be managed in Agile. And this risk, what I talked in my previous slide, they can be managed. So, friends, in order to have this whole risk management cycle done, you need to have proper process. Process is the key. Following the process is the key of handling all kind of risk. So let's talk about the budget risk. So you have a budget risk if you don't have a proper planning, and then there's a delay. Some of the resources, they are leaving. You don't have a backup plan. If in case you have a dependency on a resource and that is on vacation, because of him, there was no proper knowledge transfer. As a result of which, somebody else was hired, giving him some extra remuneration or salary, and the quality of work he has done is not up to the mark as good as the original candidate would have done. Because of this, you get a product which is buggy, and then since it is buggy, you have to do few more iterations so that it should be uh, quality standards should be matched, or quality standards should be appraised as per the client expectation. So all of this, so now you realize this is a practical scenario in which you can have different kind of risk creeping in, and because of that, the overall product quality, delivery, timeline, schedules, everything, budget, everything, they will be impacted. Let's see how you can, by following certain process and techniques, how you can manage risk in Agile. First of all, as soon as you have a backlog with you with all the requirements, develop a priority order. So as soon as you have the requirements in place, you know what would be the priority. If you don't know it, try to figure it out. Now, what this will do, this will help you in order to eliminate all kind of risk which I mentioned here, time and delivery risk. So what it does, it tells you about the changing requirement, if some requirement has changed, or if some requirement has changed its priority, or some requirement they have been removed and new requirement have been added. So all these things, they'll be updated in real time, and you'll always know what is the highest priority item and in which way you have to proceed. First, you have to conquer the highest priority item, and then next to it, and you keep on going on the same way. So you have to plan accordingly. So this is your first technique, developing the priority order, priority list. Second, clear goal and scope for each iteration. Now, until unless you have the complete information, you cannot plan for the goal and scope of iteration. So when you plan for a sprint, from a product backlog, you have your sprint planning. You take certain important features, requirement, bugs, whatever it is, or improvements which you need to provide and which you need to implement or plan in your sprint planning. You have to have a very clear goal and a scope depending upon your resources. What are the resources, what are the budget, and what are the timeline, delivery timeline, what has been given to you. Depending on that, you have to figure out and prepare the list of backlog items which you need to incorporate in your sprint. So sprint planning should be very clear and goal specific. Then sprint backlog, small estimates tracked daily, and then there should be no change within iterations. These are the two very important points for day-to-day activity which are to be performed not only by the agile team members, including product owners or project managers, or let's say developers or testers. Everybody, they should have this thing in their mind that always give a small estimates which should be tracked on daily basis, and there should be no change within the iterations. So let's say you have certain features and then they've been planned in this sprint, and from the sprint planning you do the sprint backlog, you prepare sprint backlog, and for those backlogs you have provided your estimates, and those estimates should be very small fragments. You don't provide estimate like days, hours, or weeks. Days or weeks, you can provide it in hours or half days. That would be zero point 0.5 days, or I generally prefer to give zero point 0.5 days or 2 hours or hours. This is something which is a very small unit for estimation, and it can be tracked on daily basis. Do your daily scrums, and in the meetings, stand-ups, try to discuss what was done, what you're doing, what was done yesterday, what you're doing, and if in case you have any issues, concerns, showstoppers, that's it. So it saves you time. Everybody are on the same page. It helps in tracking, and then everybody is focusing on toward the same focused goal, and hopefully there is no change within the iterations. The iterations are very small, let's say 1 week iteration, so or 2 week iteration, so no changes are supposed to happen. And then from this, you move into active daily management bi-directional reporting, which should be like inspecting and adapting. Team forced to confront issues early. So this is the related term which I was saying earlier. Try to use your daily scrum for talking about what you did earlier, what are you doing, what are you planning to do today. If in case there is an issue, just confront those issues as early as possible. I keep saying, test as early as possible, validate as much as you can. Wherever you see issues, confront it. Don't leave it for the last. So that is the basic difference between agile and traditional software development framework. Over here, you try to conquer your problems as soon as possible, and there should be bi-directional uh, reporting. So anybody who sees the issue, they report it, and as soon as they report it, it has to be acted upon, and depending on that, there should be certain actions they need to be taken or adaptations to be done, and again reported back. So it should be a bi-directional reporting on daily basis. Then sprint execution, delivery of working software every iteration. So let's say every 2 weeks a sprint is getting over, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week, whatsoever is suitable for you or your organization, you can decide upon that. But make sure that once the sprint is getting over, there should be a working software. It should be potentially shippable product. That is the main point in Agile Manifesto. Okay, friends. So you have to understand that every time when you say your sprint is getting over, you have to make sure that you're delivering a software which is potentially shippable. And then when you have this shippable product, it will help you to have few things in place. And for example, your budget, since you have shipped your project within timelines, your budget is in control. The resources, it's a 2 week sprint or 3 week sprint, so everybody was working, and on day-to-day basis everybody is meeting in daily scrum and sharing what they did, how, and what are they planning to do, and what is their plan for next day if in case there was any issue. So everybody is aware of anything. If at all there is any issue, it is handled early. So person risk, or the risk on knowledge, risk with respect to delivery schedule and timelines, all these risks, they are minimized. Then we come to the next step of this technique, which is customer sees product constantly, sprint review. Now, not only there should be a peer review, there should also be a customer review for this sprint, which you are doing when you say you have a potentially shippable product, and then you have an increment in your sprint. At that point of time, before you go for the increment, you have to deliver, you have to get your product which you think is potentially shippable reviewed by your customers, so that at least everybody is on the same page, including your customers or clients. They are also aware of the fact, yes, the money they have been paying, the kind of resources you have been using, it is delivering them some good shippable product which can be used then and there. So customers should see the product constantly. This is a very important thing, because we cannot control all the risk. But if at any point of time we have any risk coming into picture, so at that point of time, our customers, they are in sync with us, and they will help us to mitigate those kind of risk. If in case we have certain problems, they might help us to even um, do different kind of funding or provide with resources or extend the timelines, whatsoever it is. So customers should always be kept in confidence, and they should be shown products on regularly basis, and they should inspect and provide us the feedback. Depending on that, the team should adapt and incorporate the comments and go and make the changes. Finally, review the adjustment after every iteration. Review and adjustment after every iteration following your sprint retrospective. Now, sprint retrospective, many companies, they do it in different ways, but I believe the best way to do sprint retrospective is to have a user testing being done, user acceptance testing, and depending on the feedback, whatever you have received from user acceptance testing, use those feedback in your sprint retrospective, plus take a feedback from the team. What are the things which could have been done better? Combine it together, come up with some action points, assign those action points, and take a feedback on those action points, that what actions were planned, what is the status of those actions, and how are you moving forward, so that no such kind of mistakes to be repeated and things should be better. This is what I believe. If you follow such kind of technique, all this risk, budget risk, personal risk, knowledge risk, productivity risk, time and delivery risk, somehow they can be mitigated and managed. If you want to know more about risk management, do let me know, and I'll come in the comment section your question queries, and I'll come with the answer to those. And I can also share a video explaining any specific technique or method which you are interested to learn in order to have this risk management technique known in details. This is me, Prashant Kumar, QA evangelist and software testing enthusiast. Most of you who know me, they know I'm a computer engineering graduate. I'm a PG and having a specialization in management from Harvard University and ICMS Sydney. I'm having 15 plus, this is the old one, 15 plus years of experience, worked in different sections as a Java developer, business analyst, test consultant, finally quality head for major IT firm at investment bank and startup across US, UK, Switzerland, Germany, and India. Feel free to get in touch with me for any QA related query or any management related query, suggestion, mentoring, consulting opportunity. Thank you, friends. Thank you. Stay in touch. Take care. Bye bye.